Welcome back to the channel, guys, and a bit of a classic Lake District adventure today. I've done, I suppose I'll call it a little bit of a loose plan whereby I don't really know what I'm going to photograph here. I've just basically picked a location on the map. It's a modest fell in terms of its altitude, but we're in the Central Lakes, so quite like my last hike that I did here in the Lake District, we should get some beautiful views. We're hiking up for the sunset, so fingers crossed things should be positive, so I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, I guess I'd like to try and use my telephoto lens. You know, when I was last here in the lakes, I got some really good results with it. Something that I definitely don't use enough, and I think you can get some fantastic results when you're up in the mountains and things like that. So yeah, I'd like to think there'll be a little bit of a telephoto spin on this. Perhaps I'll show you how I approach using my telephoto lens in these sorts of landscapes. Let's crack on. So we're starting to get some really nice views now. Have a look at that, back down towards Grasmere, which is pretty cool, and as I'm sure you can tell as well, the light's pretty nice. It's roasting hot, absolute piping hot, but a lovely summer's eve here in the wonderful Lake District National Park. I just wanted to stop for a second and say a quick thanks to the responses that I received to my last video that I released, which was on Thursday. If you haven't seen that, I'll stick a link up in the corner here. I never know which side it is. But yeah, I just did something a little bit different. I didn't really talk, just let the photography do the talking, and the filmmaking, I suppose. And I really enjoyed filming it. But yeah, I suppose the thank you really is to everyone that commented with their opinion, you know, even people that said, oh, it's not really my thing, I didn't like it, Henry. Those people I wanted to say thank you to just as much as anybody that complimented it. You know, it's all a matter of opinion, you know, and I respect anybody's opinion as long as they're polite with it, like, as to whether or not they like something that I do. You know, your opinion means a lot to me, so that's class. But yeah, it was fun. But obviously back to my old chatting ways today, and this is looking like a really good spot for a bit of telephoto landscape photography. So I'm looking forward to cracking the old zoom lens out as well. So my first tip, I suppose, with regards to how to use your telephoto lens, especially in these sorts of landscapes, these wide vistas, is in many ways a little bit counterproductive, but it's all about trying to forget about the wide vista. It can actually be really, really distracting. Take myself, for example. I wear my heart on my sleeve with my landscapes, and a lot of the time I get overwhelmed. If I come up to a fell like this, and we've got incredible vistas, I mean, look at the light at the minute, it's stunning. It kind of takes my breath away, you know, I get taken aback, and I just want to get my wide angle lens out and start snapping everything. You know, it's like a tourist photograph. Not necessarily anything wrong with it, you just might not be leaving with the best photograph of the area, and you might end up disappointed when you get home. So I would say try and forget about the wide vista, or get the wide angle lens on your camera and get that shot. You know, it's out of the way then, it's finished. And then you can start thinking about the telephoto. And it's all about trying to piece together what makes the wide vista so special. So for example here, we've got Grasmere down here, we've got this lake, we've got a few woodlands dotted about. Jesus, at the minute we've got some incredible evening light, even though it's still quite harsh. It is very, very bright back there. But we've also got a lot of layers because we're looking back in to all these fells. We've got a lot of layers and shapes and textures, and these are all the things you want to be looking for with your eyes. Don't be looking through your viewfinder to start with. So here, for example, you probably won't be able to see it. It's right up in the corner here. It's very bright for you. We've got this beautiful mountain right off in the background. It's got this gorgeous sort of dome-shaped form, and that's something that kind of caught my eye straight away. It's basically the tallest peak that I could see, you know, when I look over this vista. So then I kind of thought, well, that's, you know, a really important piece of this vista jigsaw, if you will. So perhaps I can hone in on that with my telephoto lens. It's all about honing in on parts of the landscape. And it's working really, really well. What I'm getting here is three elements. Firstly, we're getting some nice light from the right hand side. You can see obviously the sun's over there. We are getting that beautiful prominent peak, which is probably going to be the main subject. I've placed it in the top right hand third of my frame. And then we've also got layers as well, because we're capturing a few of these smaller fells here in the foreground. So it's absolutely fantastic. And actually a really, really good way to use your telephoto lens. So yeah, basically try and ignore the wide vista. Don't let it overwhelm you like it does to me, and just scan the landscape and try and pick out really small parts of it that you think makes it special. I'm just focusing. I think I can see people up on the fell there. So we're at the top of the fell. We're at the top of the fell, guys. It is stunning. I've basically reached the location that I wanted to. So quick look at that. Which was this tarn that's just to my left hand side here, and I wasn't necessarily wanting to photograph it. It's just a nice thing to sort of hike up to. The views are incredible. Like I said at the start of the video, it's a fairly low fell. It's quite modest in its height. But because we're in the Central Lakes, we've just got these incredible panoramic views. We can see back towards Windermere, I think even Coniston over there. It's stunning, and the photographic opportunities are endless, especially when we're using the telephoto. So I'll tell you right now, this photograph, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. There's no in between, I don't think, here. It's an absolute marmite of a photograph. It's pretty abstract, but either way, I'm looking forward to explaining it to you guys, and it's really, it falls really nicely in line with what I'm talking about in this video with the telephoto lens, which you can see I've got on here. So I'm zoomed in even more than last time. I'm at 135mm, but it's quite a similar concept to my last photograph in that I've zoomed in and I've honed in more specifically on an area of this landscape that at this moment in time is really appealing to me and attractive to me as a photographer. So we're looking back, we're shooting into the sun. Although it's not in the photograph, we're capturing some of these beautiful evening rays. And we're effectively photographing what is Helm Crag. I'll put an image up on the screen here that I captured a few months ago, which you'll be able to see the foreground there is actually Helm Crag. So I was up on this mountain. However, this is crazy because these photographs are going to be two completely different perspectives of this fell, which is awesome. And this is why using your telephoto is so class. You can get really arty. You know, this is going to be such an abstract photograph. In many ways, you wouldn't really even know this is the Lake District. You may, I'm not sure, but you may not even be able to tell this is like a mountain. It's pretty abstract. That's why I think you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. But yeah, I'm zoomed back in on Helm Crag, and it really is all about the light. Helm Crag is kind of the ridge line of the felt is capturing those beautiful golden tones, and it's kind of illuminated, and that's almost what I'm trying to capture here. It's incredibly hazy, but that, let me tell you, that is the story of this evening. So I'm glad I'm capturing this sort of image, because that's what I'm trying to encapsulate, you know, the emotion of this evening, what the story has been for me. You know, obviously I've been here for hours. So I'm shooting at ISO 100, f9 and 1/200th of a second, so really I probably don't even need my tripod, but I like to use it. You know, users that watch me regularly, you'll already know that it helps me to slow down and it helps me with my focus using my live view and things like that. But yeah, it's basically just the ridgeline of Helm Crag that goes from the left hand side of the frame all the way to the right hand side. Super abstract, but a fantastic use of the telephoto lens where you can get really arty. So I was going to leave it there, but I wanted to focus. I wanted to give you one more tip before the light goes, and I suppose it's a bit of a bonus tip. And I think the main reason that I want to tell this to you is because this is something that I want to do more with my telephoto lens. So I want to practice what I preach, and it's basically all about trying to use a shallow depth of field to your advantage. I'm going to put another image up on the screen here. You can see how in this particular photograph I focused on the castle, but then had the rocks in the foreground that were out of focus deliberately. And what that does is really helps to add prominence to the subject that you've got in focus in this particular image. It was obviously the castle, but it also helps to frame the photograph, and on top of that it helps to add depth. It shows that there's something right in front of the lens where the photographer was stood, but it also shows obviously there's something right off in the distance. So I'm going to try my best and do it here, like I said, whilst we've still got the light. So it's the light that I'm trying to use with it. I don't think this would work otherwise. We've got some really attractive layers, and I'm looking back kind of towards Helm Crag, which is the fell that I just photographed before, but more down in towards this valley here to the north, which is absolutely beautiful. And yeah, it's all about the light capturing these grasses in the foreground. Golden, absolutely golden, stunning. So I need a fairly quick shutter speed, mostly just because obviously I'm not using a tripod. However, I also want to open up my aperture so I can get that shallow depth of field. So in this instance, it's a win-win, you know. Hang on. Oh, the light's going, I need to be quick. So I'm shooting at f4.5, ISO 100, and for this photograph, 1/250th of a second. It's not bad. So, oh, it's a race against the light. So it's kind of cool because all of these grasses here in the foreground are moving because we've got a bit of a breeze, and even at a quick shutter speed I'm capturing all that movement, so they're kind of blurred in the foreground, but I really like that. It's kind of arty like my last photograph. So let's have a look at them. They're actually alright. They're not bad. I'd prefer obviously to have had a little bit more time, I suppose, but wouldn't we all? Again, pretty arty. I've got the grasses in the bottom right hand corner of the frame, and then we've got layers again, beautiful layers. So definitely another mint usage of the telephoto lens there. I really hope you like this photograph. Oh man, oh boy, what a frantic video. It wasn't really expected. I wanted to come here, have a bit of a calm one and talk you through how I use a telephoto lens, but I kind of like it in a way, because you know I always want these videos to reflect the reality of landscape photography, and this is it. Like, You know, sometimes it's mental and you're all over the shop, sometimes it's proper chilled out and you might leave with 0 photographs. That's the reality of it, and actually that's the beauty of landscape photography as well. So the sun's gone down, so I'm going home. It's become a lot less appealing, and I'm pretty happy with the way that the evening's gone in terms of the photography and stuff. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I really hope you got 1 or 2 decent tips with regards to telephoto landscape photography. Please give the video a quick like if you have a second. It really helps some videos out, and as always, comment below with your thoughts. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one. Out.